Warning, this podcast, website, and associated social media accounts are intended for audiences of legal drinking age. We do not advocate overconsumption or the abuse of alcohol. Never drink and drive, drink responsibly. And please remember to always take what we say with a grain of salt. After all, we are just some dudes with some brews.
All right, man, we're out here at Celestial Beerworks in Dallas. Got the head brewer, co-owner Matt with us today. I appreciate you letting me come out and kind of pick your brain a little bit.
Thanks for coming back since it flooded last time.
Oh, man, it's no problem. Honestly, I was happy to help you guys out. I felt bad myself, but the weather's completely different than it was then. So, so man, got to ask. So first question, I know you probably had this question asked a lot, but how did you guys get started here?
It's pretty much, I went from homebrewing to like a day job and homebrewing a lot to working. I guess I'll start at the beginning. Started homebrewing in 2011, right after college, and then got pretty hooked immediately. Did it for a few years. Met Molly. When we got married, I left my day job, old engineering career, and took a job brewing for Malay Kitchen, a little Thai Vietnamese restaurant in Dallas. They had a beer program they were starting, a little brew pub, and when I came on, they were opening another facility and trying to grow their beer program. And I ended up taking that job, just a one-man operation, running one barrel system. I maybe started off as a half barrel to a barrel to 3 barrels. And over 2 years, we grew pretty fast. But the whole time I was working there, we were trying to figure out how to open Celestial, and pretty much, I just was grinding. Spent a lot of time just brewing in that little brew pub and just learning the ins and outs of day-to-day brew house and just selling work and kind of just immersing myself in it as much as possible. And then at night, pretty much just working on business plan, trying to find a building. And I think around 2017 we kind of had a business plan written, found this building, and then signed the lease. And then I think we started construction March of 2018, and then 6 months later we were open, and it's pretty much, just started off, when I was working at the pub doing a lot of hazy IPAs back in 2019. There wasn't really many offerings around here at the time, and it kind of gave us some direction to really what to focus on. So we knew we wanted to open a brewery, we didn't know we wanted to really brew, and then we kind of saw the writing on the wall with that style coming up, and there wasn't a lot of people that wanted to touch it in our market, so I was like, I'm a fan, I love hops, and it was super fun, seeing people, get super excited about it, and when we opened, we still make, probably 75% IPA here, so it's been we're almost 3.5 years into being open, and it's been cool. It's been wild. So
it's really awesome that you had a chance to kind of experiment at that brew pub and kind of get consumer ideas and what they like.
Feedback,
feedback, right? If I can think of that word. Yeah, so I think that's awesome because a lot of people it's trial and error.
Yeah, for sure.
To opening something up, so it's great that
you still homebrewing too.
You're fine.
Things I could do it at the pub, I would do at home. So,
right.
And then we'd be doing tasting and stuff. But I was always, I think I got a lot better homebrewing after working there.
I can imagine.
But learned some tricks, and it's been fun. Definitely was a good, the owners are still awesome when we still talk. They're growing like crazy. They have we've actually taken a bunch of equipment off their hands.
Oh, nice.
As they've grown and helped us with some little things, but it was a fun place to learn. It was a fun little roller coaster.
So I've had a lot of your IPAs, and I want to ask, this is something that I've been curious about because it maybe at the time when you guys opened there wasn't a whole lot of people doing IPAs. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
When I go to the store, I feel like I see shit ton of IPAs.
Oh yeah.
So what do you guys do to set yourself apart from the competition?
I think we really dive. I'm not saying everyone doesn't dive deep, but I think we've just sort of very transparent kind of about what we're putting in the beers. And we definitely try to focus on freshness. We don't make, we do make a lot of them, and we don't make like really, really large batches of them. So I mean, these things are big, but they're not that big when it comes down to the way we break down a batch. But yeah, really, we kind of get into the nuance of them like pretty intensely. Like the way we hop on the hop schedule, specific hops. There's a lot of research and a lot of various like hop products out there, and we try to basically like figure out how to actually use them, because suppliers don't always tell you. They give you like loosely how to use them, but we have to use them and figure it out. So we were always like trying to find like what's a new product, how can we make our beers better. There's a lot of grain formulations, grain bills. We've got a pretty good one that we like for like single IPAs, double IPAs, and triple IPAs. So we kind of tweak the adjunct ratio a lot, and if we're trying to go for like a sweeter one, we've kind of learned like what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, I think we're just always trying to improve them too. Like I feel like I love where they're at right now, but we're always like, what can we do better? What can we change? And like, or we'll try something on one beer, and then we'll just like kind of just see how people receive it, and then we're like, okay, like we thought it was cool, but like if the customer thinks it's cool, then we're like, all right, let's maybe start trying that out. And I don't know. I think it's just we just really. And we also use a lot of hops. I don't think a lot of people, can use. There's a ton of hops available to all brewers, but we've really kind of focused on a lot that, let's say, a lot of people don't play around with.
Right.
Just because it's like everyone's using Citra, everyone uses Mosaic. We use them too, but we really like exploring like new varieties, like different forms of those varieties, and just really trying new flavors and just to see, because it's like IPAs they're not going anywhere, but also like try to differentiate with like the flavor of ours and aroma. Like, how can we make them different? But still an IPA, but maybe give you some flavors you may not see coming. And that's just with really the hops. And the yeast there's a lot of yeast technology coming out that we've been using too. That's pretty cool. So
right, because like even I grew up. When I got into craft beer, it was like that West Coast. Like piney, kind of punchy in the face IPA. I've had a lot of hazies, but there's something different about your guys' beers that I wanted to ask you about. So like drinking one of your hazies, when it comes to an IPA, I always expect bitterness. When I describe it to somebody who never had an IPA, it's going to be really bitter. If you don't like bitter, then you might want to try something more mild. I've had some of your beers that I'm like, it's very, very fruit bitter. And I've heard from talking to other guys that sometimes they don't even put hops into the boil itself. They just do a whirlpool or something. Is that the kind of stuff that you guys have done to figure that out?
We've done that with some. We've actually kind of started, believe it or not, started adding way more hops to the kettle than we used to. But we do make a couple beers where we have a couple of these, like we call them like zero IPAs, where it's literally only dry hops or whatever.
That makes no sense to me.
So it's just like really good yield in the kettle because we don't have any hops in there. And basically, as soon as the beer hits the tank, we're starting to dry hop. So, immediately we do it a lot too. Like dry hop, as soon as it goes in the tank, like call it like a knockout hop edition. So we'll that's one way to kind of like build flavor without bitterness. And and then with the dry hopping stuff, like it's pretty much like all the flavors dissolve super fast in the hop. Like the hops, like the flavors get extracted really fast, and the longer you let the hops sit on the beer, kind of the more like bitterness and maybe sometimes the more like polyphenol, like grassiness that comes through. Like anytime you have like a really green IPA, sometimes it could be either the quantity or the hops, or maybe just the contact time. And we try to like keep everything just short as possible. We've got a pretty good system now. It's like as short as possible to where the flavors where we want it, and then get the beer in the can and the keg ASAP. But like we still give them like enough time. It's about 2 weeks, so we could do an IPA. 14 days from brewing to packaging. Most of ours are pretty fast. And then a lot of that's kind of the standard, our scale, 3 weeks would be nice, but 2 weeks, we're pretty happy with it. So pretty quick turnaround.
So with that, what is your R&D process like? Do you guys do like, I know you said these seem like big tanks, or smaller batches, but do you do like a really small batches for R&D, or
no? Sometimes, really, at least for like hops, I feel like they're pretty predictable. Like as far as like IPA stuff, sometimes maybe like if we're trying to experiment with like a fruit in an IPA or a fruit in something, we'll pull off like a keg or pull off like like 50 gallons or something, and fruit it a couple ways, and then see kind of how that works. But I feel like we've got a pretty good system of like ratios. Like hops are super predictable to me. Like a pounds per barrel, or like they just translate pretty well. Like without having to like I don't know if I should use this much or that much. We're just like whatever. Like this works. We know it works.
Right.
And it's pretty much it keeps things kind of simple. So it's like we can change the variety and pretty much keep the weight the same.
So it's research and knowledge.
Yeah, and then
just key.
Yeah, it's really just like making a bunch of beer and like messing up a lot of beer, and then kind of sometimes we're like, let's just do something stupid and like let's add more hops here. Or let's try different something here. And not always like it's not always planned. There is still some like improvisation on these. And, where we're just kind of like, well, let's just wing it and see what happens. And I mean, not with every beer, but like every now and then with the dry hop or with different hops, we'll just be like, let's use more of this one than that one. Or let's use it dry hop it really early, or and then it's fun. I feel like there's so many varieties out there, but that really has come through just time, like brewing at the pub, and then by the time I got here, the scale wasn't too like the scale like the cellaring the beer wasn't that complicated.
Right.
It was really the figuring out the hot side, because I wasn't used to like my ratios of like hops, IBU and stuff was way off from the brewing like a barrel to a gin, so that took a while to dial in bitterness. Like our first couple of IPAs were super bitter. Our cases, just because we hadn't figured out it was sort of like trial and error. Like you can calculate it, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Okay, so they're only as good as they are now because of
because all the beers that like we grinded through that were like they were good, but they could have been better. They were like we definitely learned some lessons. We were like
So with that, like staying on the R&D process, you're not the only brewer, right?
No, so I mean, physically brewing batches, we have 3 guys that run production with me, and I'm kind of more of like fill in the gaps. I definitely do a lot of the recipe formulation, but we also share it with the brewers here. So Andrew is our lead brewer and production manager, so he trades off brewing and like coordinating the schedule, and also like managing a lot of the beer once it's done brewing, or brewing it himself. So, and then Mario is sort of like our assistant brewer. He's been brewing a lot of beers. He came pretty much straight from home brewing, and we got him. So he never worked commercial brewery before. Whereas Andrew's been in the industry, going on 10, 12 years.
Oh, awesome.
Because he had way more experience than I had. So we tried to hire like the best brewer we knew. So it's like, and I feel like it's kind of cool, like working. It's basically like a collaboration with our staff all the time. Of, like, how do we make them better? Or, like, how can we tweak it through either, like the hot side, or like pH and things like that. The pH has a huge effect on IPAs, so it's like really and water profile. So like I feel like we. I had a way I like to do it, and then we'll kind of like try to like, oh, let's change this and change this, and then we'll just do it at scale, because it's always subtle, and without having to do it on a little batch, because we don't even really have a pilot system, so it's just like this is it.
I mean, honestly, I like this idea because I homebrew a little bit, haven't been doing it for crazy long, but I found that even if a beer comes out and it maybe doesn't taste the way I expected it to be, it's always been drinkable. It's always been halfway good. But with that, I wanted to ask, like, how do you guys have to all approve it for it to go into production, or is it like if one guy says it's good, it's like let's just send it out there?
Like typically, we were trying it the whole time, so it's like we're checking like the gravity and the pH a lot, and it's like if there's a swing, we'll try to figure it out. Typically, we don't see it. If something goes wrong, we've had to dump a batch, like the temperature wasn't maintaining right, and got too hot, and we got some flavors we were looking for, which is unfortunate. It happens from time to time, but
so it sounds like you're able to, as you're tasting it throughout the process, you're able to fix and like change things up a little bit.
Kind of, you definitely these things you can tweak, like we can either like add more hops, or pretty much like it's really just like I think we've tasted it throughout the process enough that like even though it's not dry hopped, like you can get a really good profile on like the yeast character and the like what we did in the boil, and see how it's tasting. I feel like there's like we don't necessarily have like a true standard, but like it's really a lot of sensory, just like all right, this tastes fine. Like, and it's measuring right. Like the pH, if the pH is good and the gravity is where it should be, like it's attenuating right. Or like that's really our main precursor. And then like, if it's a really laggy fermentation, then we'll kind of be like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like most of the beers are done fermenting in like 6 days, something like that. So
6 days.
Yeah, just because the yeasts we use healthy yeast, and then just the shape of the conifers, they really it churns along like pretty fast. It ferments super quick. And some of the yeast, not for our IPAs, but like we've used like some of the Kvike and some other yeast, and they're like 2 or 3 days and done.
That's what I was going to ask. I know Kvike, I've heard of like grain to glass, and like I've seen guys do it like 17 minutes.
Oh yeah, we did it.
Because I'm used to having to wait for my stuff to finish fermenting in 2 weeks.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think we did one. Like we took this was like 3 years ago. We did like a Kvike like Berliner, and we were trying to just see how that yeast worked. So we filled like we basically filled this. You can't see it, but it's like a 50-gallon fermenter.
Oh, okay,
So we peeled some off and then fermented it like just at ambient temperature. And I think it was like 2 days and it was done. We crashed it, carbonated it, and like added some fruit, put it on tap, and it was like 4 days.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. But we've only did that one time. But no one, you could. It wasn't like there was no flaws in it. The beer tasted like a normal sour fruity beer. But it was just kind of like, let's just see if it works.
Right. So we're drinking a Hellas Lager.
Mm-hmm.
This is damn good.
Yeah, Newton's.
So even though you guys are known for IPAs, you can brew other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
People need to realize that.
For sure, yeah. I mean, definitely, these are. When you're working around beer all day, and like even if like you're not necessarily like drinking beer all day, like to just get inebriated, but really just like it's nice to have a beer that's like simple and clean and low gravity, low ABV.
Right.
So we've taken them. I mean, we've been brewing them for 3.5 years, and they've definitely. I think this has probably been our biggest improvement in the beers we make.
Right.
Just making a really clean, crisp beer that like anyone can drink, and it's just typically like, even though we are like an IPA brewery, the majority of people still come in here just looking for beer. Like not everyone like loves IPAs or loves sours or loves the stouts, and so we feel like we got to have at least 1 or 2 clean offerings on tap. And then something that's just like familiar and like tastes like beer flavored beer.
Yeah.
Like terrible term, but beer flavored beer.
No, dude, everybody needs to have something that's clean. A good lager is great because I mean, I love a great IPA, I love a good stout, but here lately I've seen the market become like a little oversaturated with trying to one-up people on flavors and stuff.
Oh, for sure,
So sometimes a good clean lager is just the way to go
I think everyone's
that time.
I think everyone's getting older too, and we're all like, everyone's kind of like, we worked our way through all the styles, like just as a drinker, and we eventually all come back to like, and I think the brewers and just like, I think the industry too is just like, just been kind of, there was always like kind of, lagers were like, whatever, like, to make them, I think in the last like decade, it really come around. Last couple of years too, like everyone is like having to really up their lager program.
Has
everyone
come
knows
back around to it. Yeah.
So we definitely invest in time and effort, and they're also like, I mean, the amount of hops we have to use in these is still pretty significant. Because all the like noble German varieties are like, they're just super low alpha acid. So like to get the flavor and and to get the bitterness from these hops, you have to use a lot more and use them a lot differently. So it's like a flip flop from whereas most IPAs, all the hops are really going in the fermenter, like dry hopping.
Right.
But in these beers, it's typically more of a hot side addition, and it's like timing that right. And, and it's like they're really fun to make, but they take a lot of. We usually get way better yields on them, like better efficiencies because it's like a smaller mash. But the amount of hops you use kind of throws it off. But basically,
it's phenomenal.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. This one's Newton's third lager. So we started off with like Newton's first lager, like Newton's first law of physics and such. We kind of worked our way through them, and this was a recent rendition. So Hellas style lager with Texas Pilsner malt, and
nice.
And then I think we use all German saws or Czech saws hops. So like classic German, or I guess a Czech variety, but just like it's very noble, very like more floral, like really nice soft bitterness on it, and just like mints really well. Definitely more of a malt forward beer.
Right.
The hops are they're in there, but it's not like dominant. So.
I got you.
Yeah.
So today we shot off some rockets.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was specifically because you're having beer coming out. Something.
Launch party. It's going to be called launch party.
Okay.
So.
Do you always do like some sort of event to precursor a beer that's coming out?
No, it's sort of just like it was sort of something fun. So like 3 years ago we did something similar, but like our friend worked for us a rocket company,
okay.
and they were like, hey, we have room for some hops. We're gonna try to get into space, and then like you guys can make a beer with them. So wait
a minute. The hops that were in the rocket, they were able to retrieve.
Yeah. It was like a reusable rocket.
That's even cool.
Yeah, that was that was like 3 years ago, and that one they didn't quite make it to space. It got like almost there. It was like to the stratosphere. It was still really high.
Yeah.
But they retrieved the rocket.
I mean, come on.
What
you do is you just don't get it in space.
But it was like maybe a couple ounces or something. It was very low.
Oh, cool.
It cost a lot to send stuff up to space. So anyways, we're brewing a beer with one of our a hop supplier, Crosby Hops. They're based out of Oregon, so the Willamette Valley is like. So there's two big hop growing regions in the U.S. Like the I guess like now they're the biggest. But it's like the Willamette Valley's in Oregon, and then the Yakima Valley's in Washington.
Right.
We just went there this past fall, like to see the harvest and like
cool,
super cool, really fun, like way to like just kind of see how hops are like see them in the field, to see them like going through the processing process. And but anyways, this Crosby Hops. We're doing a beer with them for Craft Brewers Conference. It's a big CBC is kind of what it's known as, but it's in Minneapolis. But they're going to be serving some beer there. They wanted us. We use them for like a lot of our hop needs, and like we've got a really good relationship with them, and we're always willing to try fun stuff. And they're always cool with us. But they were like, we want to showcase a bunch of the hops that you use in your IPAs that they grow. And so it's Comet. Comet's one of our favorites. They spend a lot of time, tweaking their Comet and growing it. And basically, different regions have like you can grow Comet in Oregon or Washington. You get like different profiles.
Yeah.
So basically, theirs is really nice and really like the characteristics of it. But then we use Strata. It's going to have Strata, which they were the first to really like start selling and growing. And I think we're also using Eldorado, if I remember, Eldorado, and Osaka maybe. So it's gonna be nice.
So it sounds like anytime you guys have some sort of event like that, it's always going to be available on your website.
Yeah. Instagram or something. Always Molly's Madeline's my sister-in-law. She manages the events in the front of the house.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
So she's always coordinating that, and then Molly's doing all the art, doing all the labels, social media. Promotion
the artwork is awesome.
Yeah. I looked at married an artist, and she kills it. So
I'll make sure to put the link to the event page in the description.
Yeah.
But you ready to deep dive too hard into more IPA stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet, let's do it.
Yeah. I'll drop some kids.
So you got to tell me about this beer because immediately, David Bowie.
Oh yeah, David Bowie.
You a huge David Bowie fan, or like where did that come from?
Okay. Yeah, and Molly's a huge Bowie fan. I love him, and she loves him way more.
Okay.
But yeah, she's a lot of. We've done some Bowie beers and some like Bowie like inspired labels and stuff.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, basically, she loves the lightning bolt. Loves all of his music, all the movies. The dude is such a wild artist. So all these like
wild is mild to say.
Like right up your alley. But yeah,
right.
So yeah, this beer is called Visual Pathway. It's a cold IPA, which is I'll sum it up as short as possible. It's a newish style.
Mm-hmm.
New.
I had never heard of it until you guys released this.
Yeah. So there's some guys up in I think they're out of Oregon or Washington, Pathfinder, maybe butcher, but they were like, hey, they're mostly a lager brewery,
okay, and
they were like, hey, we want to kind of make a hybrid, like American light lager meets West Coast IPA. Like that's the best way I know to summarize it.
Okay.
So basically, what it is basically a very like American light lager side of this beer is it's super crispy, very light, very clean.
Mm-hmm.
So we use Pilsner malt and like about 10% rice. So that rice kind of helps like dry it out a little bit. It gives it like a really light body.
Okay.
So we're going for really dry.
So
really dry.
Whenever you say dry, so it's going to be a dry flavor.
Dry finish. So
okay,
yeah,
dry
so
finish,
it's kind of like so it attenuates. We're trying to get it to finish around. I think this beer finished around like 10:05 or something like that. So pretty dry.
Okay.
Like not like like West Coast IPAs. I think are around 10:05 to 10:12 or something like that.
Yeah.
We just kind of prefer beers like lighter, like on the drier side, especially like light beers. I just personal thing. We just like think they're more drinkable.
So you drink. I mean, not that I'm in the business of drinking a whole shit ton of them, but they're more drinkable, and I can drink more of them, and they're not as rich and sweet.
So this one's dry, crisp, and then so that's kind of the American light lager side of it. And then the West Coast side, it's more like kind of sea hop, so kind of like Centennial, Cascade, Chinook or Columbus, like kind of like. I think the main drive is I kind of keep the West Coast vibe.
Yeah.
So we use Centennial all hot side, so all in the boil. And basically just trying to. I think this one hit about like 45, 50 IBUs. So like not crazy high, but like way more than a hazy. And then we dry hop it with more Centennial and then a Soccer. So so basically, we can crack it. You see what you think, but very. If you haven't had Centennial in a while, this is also Crosby's Centennial. So they call it estate grown Centennial. So it's one that they grow that they don't source from another farm. So they actually grow it and like they process a lot of hops, but the ones they grow specifically that they like really put their name on are very very nice. And then again, it kind of is a little bit more fruity and a little less piney. So like some Centennial, kind of more known as a piney hop really. But this is to me is like fruity pebbles and like just really fruity and nice.
So like I would agree.
Oh, and I forgot to mention so it's a lager. It is fermented with a lager yeast. So it's just fermented. I think typically a little bit warmer. We didn't ferment it that much warmer, but it is a pretty quick beer. This is probably about a 3-week lager. So which is pretty fast.
So 3 weeks from grain to can.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But that's the idea. Is like kind of like a little bit faster turnaround time. And we didn't have to didn't have any like typically what we see in like pilsners we see a little more like longer fermentations and. But like something about dry hop and lagers, it seems to really like clean up some things a lot. So
Okay, so this makes me ask you a few questions. So first thing is Centennial, I would expect it to be a little bit more piney.
Yeah.
But when you say Azeka, I would expect more like tropical.
Yeah.
Like you get some of that like mango or pineapple.
Yeah.
So you say that you feel that this one comes out more fruity.
Yeah.
Is it because you used more Azeka than Centennial, and it kind of
no, I don't know.
Kind of balance it, or what's
we
up?
only use we only use that in the dry hop. So we split it like Azeka and Centennial in the dry hop. But most of the flavor of the beer is all from the Centennial, like in the boil and like boil and whirlpool. So I think like when you try it, like it's like all the bitterness, a lot of the flavor is more just classic Centennial.
Yeah.
And then the aroma is kind of more, I'd say, tropical, like from the dry hop. So it's a little more, the Azeka definitely kind of rounds out and gives it some more like. Sometimes I get like orange and mandarin orange and like sweeter orange or something from it. And I feel like it kind of balances it out. So
sweet. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Yeah. Sorry, I gotta do the whole experience. So I gotta do the drive by.
Yeah.
It's got a really nice hop aroma for sure.
Yeah, definitely. pretty expressive. And then
Which is really good.
yeah,
I like the hop bitterness from it. It comes through really well. One question I do have, which you mentioned this a minute ago, so what makes this a cold IPA versus like a hot lager or like a
it's kind of really like. I mean, not much. Like, because there's always like India Pale lagers.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
So, and that's like, I think that's the argument on these is it's like, kind of is, but I think India Pale lagers don't use any adjuncts, and they're usually not as dry. So these are not as dry, maybe a little bit more body.
Okay.
And they're kind of, I've never like truly loved that style that much. We do dry hop lagers and stuff, but I don't know, the IPL I've never like. It kind of, to me, it kind of like. That style just kind of never really caught on like commercially very well. And some guys have made some really good ones, but it's kind of a funny. It was kind of a funny style, and But this is just kind of a fun like. Hey, let's just see. What these.
So, but you said it didn't catch on commercially, which means even if it's an IPL, if you market it as the cold IPA, it's probably going to sell better.
Probably, yeah. And honestly, I mean, we really could probably just because I think cold IPA is a pretty bad name. Like, no offense to. It just doesn't. It kind of sounds like it's kind of like I don't know, like cold IPA. It's like, all right, well, what is that? It kind of gets my attention, but it's just like kind of funny name. But I mean, honestly, you could basically just call it West Coast IPA. Because like, to me, I think I told you earlier, like sometimes we make a West Coast. I'm not always crazy about like the way it drinks. Because maybe the ale is giving off more. Ale used to give off more flavor or something. And I feel like the lager use is a little bit cleaner and brighter. That's the hops. I do feel like lager use actually like maybe biotransforms hops than ale used to. So like I feel like it's a good platform to let the hops really express themselves.
For sure, that's exactly what this does.
Yeah, sure. You're going for like very expressive flavor, not just like it's kind of hoppy, maybe kind of bitter, maybe it smells hoppy. We're like, no, this is like a full like palate like. Experience.
And this is coming in at how many IBUs?
I think right about 50 IBUs.
50?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that seems to be a really good sweet spot. Anything from like 45 to like 65, I would say is a good sweet spot where it's not. You can get the hops, but it doesn't like punch you in the face too bad.
Yeah. No, for real. Yeah, and then we try to get a pretty good carbonation on it too. So it's like the bitterness and carbonation kind of like. You can't really tell where they started in sometimes on this
right.
So it's like
so it gets the right
sharp,
the right amount of bite, that
sharp, a little bite. It's like bitterness meets carbonation.
Right.
So yeah, it's like it's kind of a fun little style and something that we definitely want to explore more. I think we got a few more on the schedule, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of just fun to just like, hey, let's just experiment and see what these guys are doing. Can we put our swing on it or like. Just like let's just see how it works. And we've made dry hop lagers before, and like kind of loved them. Like always thought those were some of the better lagers we made, and so we kind of had some experience going into it. It wasn't like starting from total scratch, but then I think throwing like the Centennial at it really kind of to me rounded it out. Like, it's not like most people drinking hazy IPAs don't necessarily love this beer because it is like. Throwback style.
I mean, it's a little more bitter than what your standard, but it's but
yeah, to me it's a little more quenchy, a little more. I don't know. It's something different experience, but it's just like to be a refreshing, easy drinker.
No, dude. So like this beer here, it does two things for me. It brings me back to the traditional West Coast, which is probably the first IPA that I had.
Yeah.
Traditional West Coast, but it does have the clean crispness of a lager. Which is something, it's not real heavy.
No, yeah.
Because, I mean, I drink too many West Coast and I'm going to be super bloated.
Yeah.
These, I think, would not do that to me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, you did figure out the perfect balance. I guess I need to go
I'll actually give credit to Andrew, our lead brewer. His recipe, like, I just kind of, we had, like, loosely were like, all right, let's try Centennial, let's try this. And he really wrote it, and like, it was the first to brew it, and we brewed it back in the fall once. And like really, I just remember making it. This would be one of my favorite beers we ever made.
Yeah.
And just like maybe it's more, I don't know if it'll catch on like as like a a celestial favorite, but for the brew side of things, we really love this beer. So
yeah,
it's kind of like and from like talking to another brewer and other brewers we know, I think like it resonates a little more because it's like everyone's nostalgic for a lot of these older hops and West Coast IPAs, so it's kind of fills that void. So it's really fun. It's really fun little beer.
I mean, I think a part of it is that it's not everybody does it. Yeah. So it's something that's different from the norm, I would say, that's out right now. Yeah. So it sets you guys apart, and that's why that may be a little bit to do with it. Market it as a cold IPA. People hear IPA and they think it's going to be. Yeah. They automatically understand what it's going to be.
Slap IPA on anything. Basically, what we learned. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, no, dude, you guys did a phenomenal job with this beer, honestly. So I've had a lot of your hazies, and they're great. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, they're great, but I agree. Yeah.
Something different.
This one might be one of the best that I've had.
Yeah. It's a pretty fun beer. Yeah. And something. I hope people go make more of them and things like that. So we definitely want to make more sessionable beers. Just to have a mix up the lineup. So it's not really things like Imperial IPA. As much as I love making them, as great as they sell, and as fun as they are to make, sometimes it's I think people do get kind of palate fatigue and want to try something lighter or something different. So
that's it. Palate fatigue.
Yeah, it's a funny term.
Yeah, no,
we get it a lot. We get it a lot. The days we're trying stuff where we're adjuncting a stout or something, and we're like, oh my god, I've tried this beer so many times. Trying to add different flavors to it before we do it on the scale it up, and it definitely happens. And I think it happens to consumer too. I'm sure it's just something different, something refreshing. But this one does require some explanation, which is sometimes hard to do in the tap room, and even online. And I don't know if everyone gets lost in the explanation you might put out there, but it's something that I think once you it's explained to you, okay, this is what we're going for. It's maybe a little bit easier to know what you're tasting. So.
No, honestly, I will say I appreciate what you guys do online. Yeah. Because I do read the description. Sweet. I mean, maybe I'm. Yeah, that's what. And if I am an anomaly, it's okay.
No,
it's good for me. So keep doing it.
I think that's one thing we like to be is transparent about what we're doing, and as much as we can be. It's, at the end of the day, we're us and 5,000-6,000 other breweries are making a lot of beer all the time, and it's just I think if we can at least be hey, at minimum, this is what we put in it. And then, usually this is the process. Maybe not the full detailed nitty gritty. We don't want to bore people. But just being able to explain it and help if it helps someone maybe have a better drinking experience.
Oh, for sure.
Then I think the beer, we kind of it's beer, but if you kind of know why it tastes the way it does, I think that it makes it it's kind of more fun to me. So.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've seen that grow in the last 5 to 7 years. Yeah. As far as people not just drinking beer, but really getting to know it. And I would say even just the average consumer.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
More interested in a little bit more of the process, or what you can get out of it. So
I think it's cool. I think it's always a lot of education in beer, and albeit a hazy or this style of classic lager. Right. It's kind of cool. We're working on a Polish hops lager. So our my Molly and Madeline's grandfather, his name is Jerry Welwick. He passed away 3 weeks ago. But he was a he's grew up in Poland. Was a Holocaust survivor. Went through he's 94 when he passed away, and he has such a cool story. And he survived the worst times ever. But when he got out of it was in Warsaw. There was a ghetto that basically was just controlled by the Nazis. Whenever the war ended, or as it was ending, he escaped. And one of the first jobs he had after the war was at a brewery in Poland. This is 1945, 46. So it's kind of cool. Beer was still huge back then. And long story short, he was working in the accounting department. Got there was an opportunity. I guess it was Germans had taken over all the breweries in Poland, and a lot of the Polish. I guess basically the ownership changed hands after the war. I don't know the full story there. Yeah. But then they were renaming the brewery, and Jerry actually renamed it. So it's called PIAs. So long story short, we've been working on trying to pay some homage and make a Polish style lager, which is it's really hard to. You can't find any Polish hops in the U.S. So we found some. I got some coming from Poland. So it's going to be kind of fun, like try hops we never used, hops we can't even pronounce. But it's such a cool, I think it's going to be really fun. And we're trying to find some Polish grain, but it's like pretty hard to find that. But definitely like and trying to be transparent too. Like you can tell a story and we can be like hey, these are maybe some hops we've never tried, but we can like introduce people to stuff like that's really fun. Like it's like
So I will agree. It's not just about the beer itself. I mean, obviously that's a key component. Making sure that you brew and you have a really good beer, but the story behind it, I feel, makes it that much better. So I cannot wait for that Polish beer to come out.
That's gonna be awesome. Yeah,
that's gonna be great. I'm gonna. If you guys have to, you're gonna do some sort of a launch celebration of some kind.
Yeah.
We need to. So I will.
Keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out on the social media.
Hops are still like 3 weeks out, so it's like 6 weeks to get here from Poland, and then hoping they make it all one piece. But and then by the time we brew it and lager it, it'll probably be this summer by the time it's out. So
and honestly, perfect time for a lager.
Am
I wrong? Come on.
Yeah, for sure.
So man, I appreciate you giving me some of your time. I'll put all of your information in the description where people can find the event. So look out for that Polish lager. Out this summer. It sounds great. I'm being super excited for it. But you say your name's Jerry? Jerry. So cheers to Jerry.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah,
thanks,
of course. Thank you. Yeah, cool.
Got a few awesome designs. We even have all new pint glasses and stickers. You want one of those glasses. I mean, you already drink a beer while watching the show anyway, so you might as well support the show and put your beer in one of our glasses. The link is in the description, so hit that link and pick up something from us today. Make sure that you use the code DUDES10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Again, that's DUDES, DUDES 10, the number 10, 10, at checkout to receive 10% off of your order. Now, we appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Dudes and Brews. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever platform you're on, we're on there. We have a YouTube channel, Dudes and Brews. We would love if you would subscribe there as well. If you are subscribed and you want to help us out just a little more, unsubscribe and resubscribe again. It sounds funny and stupid and kind of obnoxious, all of the subscribing and resubscribing and stuff, but it helps in these little algorithms games for like climbing the charts, because again, we are organic and we are where we are because of you guys.
Yeah, we really do appreciate your support. Shout us out. We really do love it when you guys interact with us, when you add us, mention us, put us on your stories, tag us, all that fun stuff, all the stuff the kids are doing. We like grabbing that stuff and we put it up for you guys. So we appreciate you so much. Keep having fun, drinking them brews, hanging with them dudes. Tune in next week for another episode of Dudes and Brews.